Behind every flag, there's a story. Welcome to USA War Stories, where the mission lives on.
Behind the flag are the stories.
In the final months of 1970, behind heavily guarded walls at the Pentagon, a secret briefing was called. Only a select group of elite military minds were invited, men trained for impossible missions. Aerial reconnaissance had revealed a North Vietnamese prison near a village called Son Tay. Intelligence confirmed American POWs were being held there under brutal conditions. As maps unfurled and the lights dimmed, the operation was greenlit. The objective? A lightning-fast helicopter assault deep into enemy territory. The name of the mission, Operation Ivory Coast, a rescue like no other. From across the United States, the call went out for the most elite warriors, greenberets, Air Force pilots, and intelligence specialists. Only volunteers would take part in this mission, and only the best would be selected. These men weren't just soldiers. They were experts in hostage rescue, covert ops, and night assaults. Under complete secrecy, they were flown to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. There, they trained endlessly, rehearsing the raid on a full-scale replica of the Son Tay prison. Failure was never rehearsed, because it was never an option. Day after day, night after night, the team rehearsed with relentless precision. Under the cover of darkness, they ran full-speed simulations, storming doors, rescuing mock prisoners, coordinating fire teams, and extracting under fire. Every detail was studied, from helicopter flight paths to enemy guard rotations. They trained in silence, isolated from the outside world, sworn to secrecy. These men were becoming a single unit, a human weapon sharpened for one strike deep in enemy territory. The clock was ticking, and every second brought them closer to the real thing. November 20th, 1970. Under complete radio silence, the infiltration fleet lifted off from Thailand in the dead of night. 16 aircraft, led by helicopters and supported by heavily armed gunships, rose like silent ghosts into the dark Southeast Asian sky. These men flew low and fast, hugging the jungle canopy to avoid radar detection. Every light was off. Every breath was measured. They were heading straight into enemy territory, 80 miles from Hanoi, on a one-way mission to bring Americans home. The quiet hum of engines was the sound of history in motion. As the formation crossed into North Vietnamese airspace, the risk escalated. Below them lay a dense web of enemy radar, anti-aircraft guns, and patrolling MiGs. One wrong move could trigger disaster. Yet the men aboard stayed silent, each one focused, alert, and committed. The pilots flew dangerously low, sometimes just above treetop level, skimming rivers and valleys to stay invisible. The border had been crossed. There was no turning back now. Ahead lay Son Tay, in a prison camp where American lives were waiting in the dark. At exactly 2:18 a.m., the lead helicopter, call sign Banana 1, made its final descent. Instead of landing outside the compound, it crashed straight through the prison wall, sending bricks and debris flying. This was no mistake, it was planned. Within seconds, Green Berets leapt from the wreckage, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Flashbangs lit the night as the assault team surged forward. Every second counted. The mission had officially begun. In the heart of enemy territory, American forces had just made the loudest, boldest entrance of the entire Vietnam War. As the assault team moved through the prison, they found silence instead of resistance. Doors were kicked open. Cells were cleared. But one by one, they were empty. Bunk beds sat abandoned. Clothes hung on hooks. Signs of recent occupation were everywhere. Yet not a single prisoner was found. The intel had been accurate, but too late. Months earlier, the POWs had been moved to another location due to flooding. The rescuers had stormed an empty cage. But still, they pressed on, clearing every corner, determined to complete their mission to the last detail. Just outside the prison walls, chaos erupted. Unbeknownst to U.S. intelligence, a large North Vietnamese military training camp had recently been built just a few hundred yards from a Son Tay compound. When the helicopters descended, the camp was fully manned. Within moments, flares lit up the night, and tracer rounds crisscrossed the sky. The assault team, trained for a POW rescue, suddenly found themselves in a fierce firefight. Yet with discipline and fire superiority, they overwhelmed the enemy, holding their ground in hostile territory against overwhelming odds. With the compound cleared and no POWs found, the team turned to Phase 2, extraction. But time was running out. The North Vietnamese were mobilizing, and heavy fire erupted from the nearby camp. Gunships roared overhead, unleashing cannon fire to suppress the enemy. Pilots executed precision landings under fire, touching down in narrow clearings. The team moved fast, loading onto helicopters in waves, every man accounted for. In less than 30 minutes from the first shot, they were airborne again, vanishing into the night. A perfect extraction in the most hostile of conditions. As the helicopters soared back toward friendly airspace, the men sat in silence. No words were spoken. The adrenaline faded, replaced by reflection. They had executed every phase of the mission flawlessly, fast, precise, and professional. Yet the prisoners they came to save were gone. For many on board, it was a quiet heartbreak. But there was no shame. They had faced the unknown, deep in enemy territory, and brought every man home alive. In the stillness of that return flight, they knew they had written a chapter of courage that would echo through time. Back on base in Thailand, the team entered a secure debriefing room, battle-worn, mentally sharp, and still processing the mission's outcome. Commanders listened intently as the operatives detailed every move, every gunfight, every corner cleared. Then came the revelation. The intelligence had been solid, but outdated. The prisoners had been moved just months earlier. Though no POWs were recovered, their captors now knew the U.S. was willing to go that deep to bring them home. That message, loud and clear, would echo from Hanoi to Washington. When the news reached Washington, it hit like a thunderclap. President Nixon and the Pentagon had gambled on a high-risk rescue deep in enemy territory. And although no prisoners were found, the mission was hailed as a tactical masterpiece. Military leaders praised its precision and execution. Nixon himself remarked that the operation sent a powerful message to every American POW. You are not forgotten. The raid became a symbol, not of failure, but of resolve. It showed the world that the U.S. was willing to risk everything for its own. Months after the raid, word reached the prisoners who had once been held at Son Tay. Though they hadn't heard the gunfire or seen the helicopters, they learned that American forces had come for them, risking their lives in the dead of night. That knowledge sparked a wave of hope inside the prison walls. For men who had endured years of torture, starvation, and isolation, the raid became a powerful reminder. They had not been abandoned. Across barbed wire and concrete walls, morale rose, and with it, the will to survive. In Hanoi, the Son Tay raid sparked panic and embarrassment among North Vietnamese leadership. American forces had flown undetected, struck with surgical precision, and escaped without casualties, right under their noses. The realization that a massive training camp had been mistaken for the prison, and that it had been nearly overrun, led to swift changes. Guard were increased, prisoners were dispersed to even more remote camps, and propaganda efforts ramped up. But the truth remained. The enemy had been caught off guard, and their command structure shaken. In the months following the raid, military academies and intelligence agencies around the world began studying Operation Ivory Coast. Though no prisoners were rescued, the mission became a case study in planning, precision, and joint force coordination. From its bold helicopter assault to the seamless extraction under fire, it was unlike anything seen before in the Vietnam War. NATO allies praised its execution. Even adversaries quietly admired its daring. The Son Tay raid redefined what was possible for special operations and set a new global standard for hostage rescue missions. Years later, the men of Operation Ivory Coast were honored for their courage and sacrifice. Though the mission didn't bring prisoners home, It showcased the unbreakable spirit of America's special forces. Medal ceremonies and quiet reflections followed. Veterans gathered to share stories of that fateful night, a night when precision met bravery under impossible odds. Their legacy lives on in the elite units that continue to carry the torch, ready to risk everything for their country and comrades. Though the raid was executed without American casualties, the operation was a sobering reminder of the dangers faced by those who serve. Years later, memorials were erected to honor not only those who risked their lives during the Son Tay raid, but all prisoners of war who endured unimaginable hardship. Their sacrifice and resilience are woven into the fabric of military history. Silent heroes whose stories inspire generations of soldiers and civilians alike. Operation Ivory Coast highlighted the need for advanced technology in special operations. In the years that followed, new innovations in night vision equipment, stealth helicopters, and real-time intelligence gathering were developed. These breakthroughs transformed how hostage rescues and covert missions were planned and executed. The raids served as a catalyst, pushing the boundaries of military technology and shaping the future warfare. The boldness and precision of the Son Tay raid inspired military and intelligence agencies worldwide. Future hostage rescue missions, from Iran to Somalia, drew lessons from Operation Ivory Coast. The raid proved that meticulous planning, joint force coordination, and unyielding courage could achieve the impossible. It set a new benchmark, reminding the world that no mission was too dangerous when lives were at stake. Today, the Son Tay raid stands as a testament to the courage, skill, and determination of America's special forces. Though the prisoners have been moved, the mission showcased the nation's commitment to never leaving a comrade behind. Its lessons continue to guide elite units around the world, inspiring generations to push beyond limits and face danger head-on. The spirit of Operation Ivory Coast lives on, as a beacon of hope, resilience, and unwavering loyalty. From the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of the Middle East, the courage of American warriors lives on. If you want more true missions, untold battles, and elite operations, subscribe now to USA War Stories. Real history, real heroes, no Hollywood.